Hello, everybody. This is Sam Mewis, the host of The Women's Game, and we are here today for a very special episode of The Women's Game. This is like NWSL Preview 101. The upcoming 2024 season promises to be the biggest, the best, the most competitive, and genuinely so fascinating in terms of all the new faces, teams, changes, and yes, even stadiums. I want to break it all down ahead of the season, and I'm joined on this podcast by my old World Cup partner in crime. It is a joy to see you, Roger Bennett.
Oh, Sam Mewis, my excitement levels, I think they were about in 11.
I'm so excited that you're here. Thank you so much for coming on this episode to break down the NWSL season with me.
It's great to be here. The last time you and I really talked, because we only ever talk into microphones to each other, was during the glorious World Cup of 2023. Since then, you've established yourself as the editor-in-chief of the Women's Game, just pointing out one tremendous new show after another. I've got to tell you, in all sincerity, I loved watching what you're building. You know, the interviews, Sophia Smith, Jill Scott, Crystal Dunn. It's been magical to witness. But the thing I love most is, and I found this hard to believe, this is actually your first ever desk job.
That is true, Raj. It's an overwhelming transition into the real world. I did have one short stint working at Dunkin' Donuts in Hanover, Massachusetts, but my gosh, they can't get me out of the game. Ball is life. This job has been full of so many learning opportunities for me, and I am so happy to be here with you, the OG of Men in Blazers, from whom I just have so much to learn. We have so much to discuss about the upcoming NWSL season. But what have you been doing since mid-November when the 2023 NWSL season ended?
It feels like, honestly, I've just had your voice in my ears, both the shows that have been going out and also the shows that we've been testing. I just listened to a show where you talked to Becky Sauerbrunn about this transition in life where you are now a normal person, which I just love that concept. They're like, 1 minute you're a footballer, the next you're a normal person. And I guess I've been normal personing. I didn't know I was until you framed it, but mostly being hurt by Everton Football Club, and being prepared to be hurt by Everton Football Club some more in the future, which is the usual. And it's why I'm so delighted that another narrative is about to come into our life, full charge, full steam, just the NWSL coming back and giving us its loving embrace, sporting joy back in my life. I'm actually going to be at the Challenge Cup final on Friday night to watch Gotham unleash its super team upon my mate Naomi Girma, and I can't wait, Sam.
Wow. Well, what an incredible start to the NWSL season. My money is on Gotham. Literally all of my friends are on Gotham, so I need like 5 or 6 different jerseys to get me through this season. But okay, Raj, let's dive in. I want to unpack all of it. We are here to talk about, preview, and celebrate the upcoming 2024 NWSL season. And this podcast is for everybody. For those of you who still miss the Boston Breakers, or maybe you have an old, frayed Western New York Flash scarf. I know I do. And even all of you brand new Bay FC supporters.
You know, whether you like Sam Mewis and know everything about football of any kind, anywhere in the world, ever, or more like me, who knows nothing about anything in the world at all, to be honest. If you're listening to this show right now, you're in the right place.
We are going to break down what to expect as the NWSL season kicks off this weekend. There is so much to be excited about going into this new season. The league actually now has 14 teams, including 2 new expansion teams, Bay FC and the Utah Royals. And that means every team will now play 26 regular season matches, which is up from 22 last year. And if last year taught us anything, it's that this league can be unpredictable. The New York, New Jersey Gotham went from a last place finish in 2022 to its first championship last year.
Chaos League, which is why I love it. But that Gotham storyline, possibly the fastest glow up since Oliver Quick got himself invited to Saltburn for the summer. And Sam, the one thing this league probably could do is get itself a tagline. I was actually thinking, inspired by you and inspired by you alone, could be like, stay with me here, the greatest show women, which is like fusing the game we love with what's his name, Hugh Jackman. But God, I can make a picture. Jackman, Sophia Smith just belting out a million dreams.
I knew you were going to bring the Greatest Showman into this somehow. You know how much I love that movie and Hugh Jackman. And the idea of Hugh Jackman duetting with Sophia Smith, somebody call the NWSL. We have to make this happen. Like I said, there are already so many things to be hyped about for this season that's coming up, starting with the massive new TV deal that will make matches more accessible to an even bigger audience. Over 100 games will be broadcast across 4 networks and on NWSL Plus.
I cannot emphasize enough just how important this new reality is. Just the ability, and this is thrilling to me, to be watching ESPN or even ABC and be able to watch a game.
I know having games streaming on those major networks is huge for the NWSL. ESPN has been running ads for the league on its network using, unfortunately, the Hugh Jackman free slogan. It's so on. And I personally like that the commercials are really focusing on the game itself, showing the athleticism, the speed, and the physicality of the NWSL, which aren't always the aspects that get highlighted in women's sports.
Yeah, by the way, ESPN, I know you're listening to this. Get on the Jackman train. We've just gifted you the greatest show we're in. My work is done. Plus, if I was to nitpick, I do think every single commercial should have a cameo from Ali Krieger, just in life in general. But the challenge for the league is that one now. It is sprinkled across these networks. There's going to be a lot of human beings encountering the league for the first time, which is wonderful. But, for diehards, the act of discovery is so bloody difficult. It's great that there's so many new partners, but your fans who want to watch every game every night, honestly, need to have one of those, like they're having crime movies, those red yarn connected cork boards that you see in murder documentaries, just to figure out where the games are going to be broadcast and when.
That's a fair point, Raj. But instead of everybody going and ordering some red yarn on Amazon, you all can just come and follow us here at the Women's Game. We are putting out graphics every week that is meant to solve this exact problem. Across women's football, I think there has been a lack of discovery options, a lack of information on how and when to watch your favorite teams play. So we are working behind the scenes to put all of that together in a very digestible, easy to read graphic that's going to show you. All you have to do is turn on your TV, click around a little bit, and you're going to know exactly where you need to be and when.
Oh, Sam, I do love, however, the mental picture of Julie Foudy in a basement with just like the murder, crime, red yard, corporate. So do it either way, whichever way you do, just do not miss a bloody game.
Well, we are here for you at the Women's Game. Just last week, though, Nike revealed its kits for the league, and each team now has a primary and secondary kit. And for the first time in NWSL history, every single team got brand new shirts this year. I think it's awesome, and it's so great to see a brand as big as Nike and continuing to invest in this league and working specifically with each club to design something that isn't just a template option. Instead, every club has some kind of story to tell. Every jersey has some connection to the city.
Yeah, another sign of the league's growth, really. Last year, NWSL was added to the FIFA 23 video game for the first time, which is honestly, it's an enormous symbolic step of growth. Just the number of eyes. There's human beings who adore football, never watch a second of the actual game and experience it purely through FIFA. So for the league to be in there, and it also meant, going back to your thing about the kits, these new kit designs were inadvertently actually leaked by an update to the EAFC 24 game, which I just love. It's a little bit like the winner of the Masked Singer being revealed by whichever dry cleaner has access to the Miss Cleopatra costume.
Okay, Raj, well, let me ask you the big question. What is your favorite of the new kits?
Oh, I thought you'd never ask. I am actually going to go with your former club, who I still believe are the greatest named team in sports, the Carolina Courage, Sammy. The kits have actually worked in a reference to North Carolina's state motto, which I love, to be rather than to seem. And that triangle pattern is a literal nod to the triangle region where the team plays. I'm also reasonably sure that if you lay the shirt over a map of North Carolina, buy that corkboard with the red yarn in your basement, it'll lead you to a secret underground barbecue restaurant. Just saying.
Raj, do you have like a barbecue whisperer telling you this stuff? I love North Carolina barbecue.
I just think NWSL, the one thing it needs to make it go over the top in this demented society of ours is just more conspiracy theories.
I'm here for that. Well, I love the North Carolina Courage, and I love North Carolina Courage conspiracy theories. But kit wise, I'm going Orlando. I'm such a sucker for the oranges on the jersey. I think that was like the most original and different and really, really such a cool jersey. I've never seen anything like that before. I'm not necessarily known for my fashion sense per se, but you might find me wearing an Orlando Citrus jersey this year.
You've always said to me from the very first time I met you, you shouted, football needs more fruit. So thank you, Orlando, for turning that around and bringing it into our loving arms. Shirts, EA Sports, broadcasters. Honestly, it all just feels like such a big season for this league as it tries to grow in its own way, but also shift that balance of power. The Women's Super League in England, and with that powerhouse Barcelona, who are the gold standard in Europe, this is a season in which we're looking for signs of both growth, but also affirmation. Statements made by NWSL that it is a growing force of this ever-shifting world football landscape in which there's constantly more competition, constantly more challenges in the women's sports place, which is an amazing thing. But it's also, it's a reality in which they can never sit pat. They just have to keep surging.
Well, the NWSL, like you said, it's had big money transfers this offseason, blockbuster managerial hires, which we're going to get to in a few minutes. Companies like ESPN and Nike have learned that this is a league worth additional investment in. And I find it so interesting to hear you talk about how this growth, we need to keep pushing and keep growing and keep expanding everything. And that's why I wanted to bring up this second top flight women's league, the USL Super League, which is a Division I professional league, just like the NWSL, and that's launching in August with 8 teams.
Yeah, this is complicated and it's technical and it's like, this is not why we watch football, for these kind of behind the scenes business stories. But we do need to note this because it is just the seeds of growth all over the place. Teams are primarily on the East Coast, save for the Spokane Zephyr, who may spend the bulk of the season just making sure that their seats and tray tables are in the upright and locked position because they're going to be repeatedly flying cross country. God bless them, racking up the air miles as well as the points. The USL season, it stretches from August to next June, like the season in Europe. So the two leagues won't actually play against each other competitively concurrently, but this still helps the USL to position itself as a competitor to NWSL. The extent it will, we honestly do not know right now, but think of it like the Pierce Global Media to the NWSL's Waystar Royco. Sam, how do you understand this shape, the contours, the possibility, the reality of this new league? Will it bring more opportunities, or is it just like spreading everything too thin and the competition, may not be a positive for the women's game?
I think that that's exactly the question, and I'm so interested in that discussion. It's definitely complicated. Sure, there will be more professional roster spots for more players to get opportunities with the addition of this USL, but I can't help but feel this sense of protection over the NWSL. I'm not really sure what to make of a quote unquote competitor league. Even if they're on different models, different seasons, I can't help but have a few reservations. I just feel like women's soccer was in such a precarious place for so long with a few leagues and iterations before the NWSL folding. And now that we're crushing it, I just want to protect that and feed the NWSL and give them all the attention and all the players. So I don't know every in and out. I'm totally open-minded. I'm not necessarily a skeptic, but I want to keep a close eye on how the USL impacts the NWSL, if at all. Are the leagues going to compete for sponsors? Are they going to compete for owners that want to buy in? And worst of all, are they going to compete for players and start diluting both pools of players? I really just want women's soccer to continue growing and succeeding here in America. And if the USL is going to help with that, then great. But if it muddies the water, then I'm not so sure. I definitely need more information. But for right now, it does seem like the NWSL is in such a great spot.
So not to be reductionist, but essentially Sam's saying USL ? But if someone's offering a franchise, she's open for business. And I pray that you're right, because NWSL, is not only competing against USL, it's not only competing against the other great women's football teams and leagues around the world, but also we're living in this incredible golden age of women's sports where there are so many remarkable superhuman role models for the audience to invest their emotional energies in. Caitlin Clark, Coco Gauff, Asia Wilson. There are so many role models to just devote your fan life to now. But here, our mission is to cover everything NWSL and set you, dear listeners, up for the season ahead and the storylines you need to know before a ball is kicked. As I mentioned, Gotham will face San Diego Wave in the Challenge Cup on Friday night. The Challenge Cup, which, much like Beyonce, is trying out an all-new format this year.
Well, I am old enough somehow to remember when it was previously a 12-team, 3-group tournament. Just last year, it ran from April to September. And the teams that made it to the final had 9 extra matches to squeeze in during the regular season. Starting this year, it's been cut down to a single Super Cup-style match between the defending NWSL champion, New York, New Jersey Gotham, and the San Diego Wave, who won the NWSL Shield for having the best regular season record last year.
Oh, this is Connor McLeod versus the Kurgan, and just like the Highlanders Immortals, there can be only one Challenge Cup winner.
Right, and San Diego have the unshakable Naomi Girma, the first straight-up defender to win U.S. Soccer Female Player of the Year, and goalkeeper Kaylin Sheridan, who finished last season tied for the most clean sheets in the league.
God, can I just say, I adore Naomi Girma. I've rarely seen a young athlete enter a league, immediately step up and also lead to become one of the most consistent, tenacious, but also one of the almost an intangible on this team. I watched this game in the stadium last season, and just watching her just cover tackle everybody almost single-handedly is one of the most remarkable joys in sport, to go and see her play live and really appreciate everything that she brings to the field. But Gotham, they've got to be going into this season, into this game, more optimistic than the bloke who sings Lil Boothang, Rose Lavelle, keeping it chill, like Sauvignon Blanc.
Yeah, Gotham has an almost infinite number of showstoppers. They made so many moves this offseason and brought incredible players to New York/New Jersey. So we set up a phone number here at the women's game, and we asked...
At great expense.
At great expense. We set up a phone number at great expense. For the women's game, we asked you all to call in. That phone number, in case you missed it, is 855-611-4050. And we asked you to tell us what you were most excited about for this NWSL season. So many of you mentioned this Gotham roster. Rose Lavelle is one of the massive signings Gotham made during this offseason. They also brought in her Seattle Reign teammate, Emily Sonnet, along with Tierna Davidson from the Chicago Red Stars, and the Portland Thorns' Crystal Dunn. All of those players have so much U.S. women's national team experience.
Yeah, Gotham general manager Yael Averbuch West has been working the phone, a bit like Lionel Richie, calling every single Grammy winner he knew to record We Are the World. By the way, when I say a bit like, I mean just like. Gotham, they were already formidable. They were already winners, veteran leadership from Kelly O'Hara, and you're the Women's Game Good Vibes FC co-host, Mighty Lynn Williams. And it goes without saying, after being with Lynn, podding with me is a downgrade. But also on that roster, the firepower Spanish World Cup winner Esther, NWSL Championship MVP Midge Purse, and the pride of Wake Forest University, Katie Stengel. Everybody bloody plays there. And these new signings have elevated this team to full on. I mean, it's like LeBron era Miami Heat. This is a bona fide super team. I mean, I don't quite understand how they pulled it off, Sam, like how you understand how they pulled it off, other than the fact you said everybody who is your friend plays there. Maybe you are the common denominator. How did this happen? And also, is there almost a threat that you can have almost too many big guns for the chemistry to actually gel?
I think we've seen in sports before that can be a threat. But going back to Mallory's question, I do think that familiarity is key. And a lot of these players have experience playing together already on the U.S. women's national team. Now they're going to go back to Gotham and be training together every day. And I think that the chemistry that they're going to be able to build is going to help Gotham. It's definitely possible to have like too many stars, too many cooks in the kitchen. But I think in this case, none of these players have big egos. They are all just going to want to work together to make this work. They're going to want to train together every day, work hard. And I'm wondering if that's even going to go and relate to the U.S. women's national team too, if we're going to see that kind of Gotham connection go into the U.S. women's national team.
That's amazing, genuinely. By the way, when you say none of them have egos, Rose Lavelle is unbearable. When you're with her, the first thing you're told is do not look at her in the eye. She doesn't like to be looked in the eye and only speak when spoken to. But I love you for spreading that myth. There are no egos on that team. But you're asking a great question. The Spain team that won, Euro, World Cup, Euro, around 2010. World Cup on the men's side, a lot of the reason they said that they were so superlative in that period was that they drew almost all the players from Barcelona and Real Madrid, and it was that club familiarity that led them to greatness. So it is fascinating to think about how Gotham can thrive through that familiarity, but also how the US women's national team can be empowered by this unit just gelling together week in, week out like a club team.
Well, in my experience, this Gotham team that has so many U.S. women's national team players reminds me of my 2018-2019 North Carolina Courage team who won shields and championships. It seemed like year after year. And there was a number of us at any given time, between 4 and 7 of us were regularly going into U.S. women's national team camp. Not only was that team star-studded, but we had chemistry. We had that connection. And it kind of like 2019, the Courage won, the U.S. women's national team won. I don't know what exactly I'm getting at here, but that familiarity I think can be really important for the NWSL, for Gotham, and for the U.S. women's national team.
Sam Mewis, from your mouth to God's ear.
Another team that hopes to earn that super team label is Northern California newcomers, Bay FC, one of the 2 expansion teams that are joining the league this season.
Yeah, just last December, Bay FC, they only had 12 players on the roster, which is 10 less than the league's minimum of 2022. So I think a lot of their fans were probably sweating it. Yeah, they love the very, very, very fine Bay FC baseball jackets, but they wanted more human beings. And boy, have Bay FC made up for lost time. They've gone on a spending spree, the likes of which have only been seen when Tom Bloody Hanks bought bunk beds and pinball machines for his apartment in Big. Their general manager, Lucy Rushton, said the goal was to go after, quote, the best 6 or 7 international players that we can potentially target. And Sam, God, how they follow through on that. It's really game-changing.
They really followed through on that. They brought in 6-time African Women's Footballer of the Year, Nigerian striker Azizat Oshoala from Barcelona. They brought in Scottish defender Jen Beattie from Arsenal. And just in January, they paid a record-setting $785,000 to bring Zambian international Rachel Kundananji from Madrid CFF to the San Francisco Bay Area, making her the first African player, male or female, to set a new transfer fee record. Bay FC almost doubled the previous record, the $400,000 that Barcelona paid for Kira Walsh to say hasta luego to Man City.
Yeah, I mean, these moves to me are so unbelievably significant. You may remember earlier, dear listeners, I talked about that kind of balance of power. Where are the best players? Which league are they playing in? We all heard during the World Cup, the broadcasters often, delighting in the fact that they were playing in Europe and not in our own domestic league. This is game changing. And the 23-year-old Kundananji, who scored an incredible 33 goals in 43 games, all comets for Madrid last year, was signed to a 4-year deal. She said, quote, I want to give Bay FC fans what they want, to enjoy seeing me playing and scoring. But in a devastating turn of events, she proceeded to suffer a serious knee injury in Zambia's Olympic qualifier game against Ghana, had to be stretchered off the pitch.
I know, that was heartbreaking. It's devastating that she won't be part of the team when they take the field for the very first time in just a few days.
Reports in the Zambian media have the recovery time being 6 weeks. Please God, that is true. We wish her all the best in that period. And the league's other expansion team, the Utah Royals, bringing football back to the Beehive State for the first time since the original recipe. Royals were simultaneously shut down, shipped off to Kansas City to become the current a move known throughout the sporting world as being art-modelled.
And as an expansion team, the Royals had the first pick in January's NWSL draft, and they selected the University of North Carolina's Ali Sentnor, who came back from her own ACL injury to become the ACC's midfielder of the year.
Yeah, my favourite Ali Sentinel fact is that she is, I believe, so far, and I'd love to be corrected on this because I'd like this to happen more in life because it's glorious, the only pro soccer player who's also been named Sports Illustrated Sports Kid of the Year. Bite your arm off to be Sports Illustrated Sports Kid of the Year, which she was just in 2019. That is by the way, that's a very tiny amount of time to go from being a sports kid to being a professional footballer, and I love it, and I cannot wait to see Sentnor take the field. But I also learned that she's from your hometown, Hanson, Massachusetts. Sammy, I just love this so much. She said, quote, I don't know if you've heard this. She said, I love this. Sam and Christy Mewis went to my high school and had some of their old textbooks in middle school, which I thought was the coolest thing. I believe she's also, in the press, she's called you a mentor, Sam, who she's texted with. What is the best piece of advice you've given Ali Sentnor?
Ali Sentnor is the sweetest girl. I don't even recall giving her advice. I find it so touching that she called me a mentor. We have trained together a couple of times at an indoor facility in Hingham a few off seasons ago. I've texted back and forth with her a few times and really just lent my support. I wanted to wish her luck for the draft, and then lo and behold, she gets drafted first. She doesn't even need my advice. She is doing so well. Ali actually helped Christy and I out at a clinic that we put on in 2019. She was out there coaching, grabbing balls. She's so humble, and she's just such a nice, handsome girl. I'm so thrilled for her. And you know what else, Raj? I'm thrilled that the NWSL will not be without a Hanson representative this season.
You know, I need to get you a sweatshirt that just says nice, handsome girl on the front. I love that idea. I also love this idea that we will soon drive into Hanson, and once you know you're about to get into the town lines because of the several Dunkins that are just littered around there. There is just giant statues, like Paul Bunyan style in Minnesota, of you and then Christy. And please God, very soon there'll be a giant Ali Sentnor, and it'll just say nice, handsome girls as you speed past them. That's the kind of town I want to live in. But while Gotham and Bay FC were attacking their rosters, like, we're going to make this happen, by the way. A giant Sam Mewis on the town lines. Welcome to Hanson. I would love that. Maybe with an axe over your shoulder. Yeah. Going to make this happen. But while Gotham and Bay FC were stacking their... By the way, you just said, yeah, and I'm not sure whether you think it's a nice idea or whether it would be the most mortifying thing either. But either way, I do want to make this happen, Sam.
I think that nice, handsome girls don't necessarily want statues of themselves. But if there's nothing I can do about it, I will be there for the opening with giant scissors.
I'm gonna work with Bob Mewis on this idea about making this happen. But while Gotham and Bay FC were stacking their rosters, a bit like doomsday preppers, stockpiling canned goods, the Seattle Reign actually lost some irreplaceable players and has gone through an enormous rebrand.
After spending 4 years as OL Reign and using the same lion badge as Olympic Lyonnais, the club released a dramatic video announcing that the restoration has begun and the club would be returning to its iconic Queen logo and the Seattle Reign name.
It's a bit like Snoop Dogg realizing that calling himself Snoop Lion was just never really going to catch on. You're always, Seattle Reign, just remember, you're always the D-O-double-G.
And so, although they've reclaimed their identity off the pitch, which I love, the club has to figure out how to move forward without Rose Lavelle, Emily Sonnet, and Sam Hyatt, who all left for Gotham. The legendary Megan Rapinoe also retired at the end of the season, a decision she made even before she tore her Achilles just 6 minutes into the championship game. It's almost impossible to overstate what Megan Rapinoe meant to this game as a player, as a tireless agent for change and equality, and as an ambassador for the sport itself.
Megan Rapinoe's list of accomplishments is actually longer than your average CVS receipt, and that counts as being an all-time hair color icon. You think about your pink hair pantheon, and you got Minaj #1, Princess Bubblegum definitely in, right behind there, Megan Rapinoe nestling in there at the top. I will not be taking any questions.
Well, we have an interview dropping with Megan Rapinoe tomorrow on the all newly named Friendlies with Sam Mewis, brought to you by the Women's Game. So I'm thrilled that you're here today, but you have to come back tomorrow. This episode with Megan Rapinoe.
Are you talking to me, or are you talking to the listeners? By the way, when you do speak to Megan, ask her where she thinks she is in the go hard-hitting journalism for me, and ask her. Just say
the pink hair pantheon. Rank yourself.
Yeah, the pink hair. By the way, that's the kind of thing Megan will have an immediate thought on.
I bet Pino already has a list going in her head.
Yeah, and I bet she's offended that I had a below bubblegum. I had a below Princess Bubblegum.
So about 175 miles south down the I-5 from Seattle, the always formidable, three-time NWSL champion Portland Thorns have a new ownership group, whose RAG Sports Group also co-owns the Sacramento Kings in a deal worth a league record $63 million. The team will continue to play at Providence Park for the next decade, but the new owners have pledged to build a new training facility specifically for the Thorns.
Sam, how does one apply that job to become a swimwear magnate? Genuinely, I'm curious and fascinated, but I'm also fascinated by the Thorns and this whole new approach to life, the whole new leadership group, and the immediate steps. The club bringing in Jessie Fleming. Just the tenacious captain of Canada's national team coming in from Chelsea to join fellow Canadians, our friend Janine Becky, and also Christine Sinclair, who's, at this point, I don't know where the player ends and the institution begins. She's an incredible human being, a member of whatever ageless secret society Tim Ream and James Milner also belong to. I mean, with Fleming arriving, the Thorns are essentially Canada South.
I know, it's pretty crazy, but we can't skip through Portland without mentioning Sophia Smith, who won her first Golden Boot last season, leading the league with 11 goals in 16 games, including 2 hat tricks, and the league's assists leader, Sam Coffey.
Let the young Thorns cook. By the way, I adored you. I adored your time with Sophia Smith on YouTube. That is that you and Sophia. You just brought out so much in Sophia that I found truly intriguing about how she does what she does, and I cannot wait to watch the Thorns. We'll talk about them more before the end of this show. But the other club that'll start the season under a new owner are the Chicago Red Stars, who are in a place of transition. They finished the season last year in my father doesn't like to call it last place. He just says they were not winners. But in comes Laura Ricketts of the Ricketts family, who co-own the Chicago Cubs. Laura bought the club in September for $60 million. She described the team as, quote, a really distressed asset, which my Lord, if you like distressed assets, Laura, let me introduce you to Everton Football Club, because that phrase should be part of our crest.
I think you're right. It's not an exaggeration to say that Chicago have a massive challenge ahead of them. And they'll be working under new coach Lauren Donaldson, who is used to defying expectations. In his previous job as head coach of Jamaica's national team, the Reggae Girls made their first ever appearance in the World Cup round of 16, which so far is the only appearance in the knockout stages for any Jamaican team, men or women.
I'm just jealous of anyone who can write Reggae Girls on their LinkedIn page. By the way, one early bright spot for Red Star supporters in the off-season is the long-awaited return of another recent guest of yours, the mighty Mel Swanson, who agonisingly missed and was missed for most of last season after tearing a patella tendon agonisingly during an international friendly.
I know, it was so hard to watch Mal get injured like that and then miss the World Cup and be missing for the Chicago Red Stars, who really noticed her absence last season. It's so hard to overstate how important she is to the Chicago Red Stars. Mal is one of the most savvy attacking players in the world. When she's in form, her ability to go at players one-on-one, her ability to create chances for herself and finish, she's truly a top player, and I'm really looking forward to see her return to top form this year and hopefully help the U.S. women's national team out at the Olympics. But her abilities is exactly why the Red Stars signed her to a historic $2 million 4-year contract with an option for a 5th year.
I mean, is that what makes her so special, that she is a one-person wrecking crew?
I think it is. It's her, in other words, Raj, it is her ability to create chances for herself. I have flashes of highlight reels of her dribbling herself down the field, dribbling 60 yards, beating 3 players. She almost doesn't need anybody else in order for her to score a goal, which is rare.
Yeah, and her husband, Dansby Swanson, shortstop with Chicago Cubs. Whichever Swanson's team has the better season is going to be getting an edible arrangement from the Ricketts family. It's time for another caller with a question about Kansas City.
Hi, I'm Carrie. I'm calling out of Wichita, Kansas, and I support Kansas City Current. I think the thing I'm most excited for this season is, besides the new stadium, of course, is just kind of showcasing Kansas City ball again. I think we kind of lost it last year, especially with all the coaches changing. So now that we have Vlatko back, I'm super excited.
Thank you, Carrie. I agree that Vlatko coming back to Kansas City, where he had so much success in the NWSL in 2014 and 2015, it's a huge move for a club that has their sights set really high but haven't quite crossed over that mark yet. Well, I feel like Vlatko didn't have the national team success that many of us hoped he would. He's a person with a lot of integrity and a coach with a lot to offer. I played for him with the national team for a few years, and I learned a lot of tactical ideas from him. I always enjoyed training. I feel like film sessions and technical training sessions, he had so much to offer. And so in the NWSL environment where he's with these players every day, year round, I think he's going to challenge them. And I think for Vlatko that he has redemption on his mind. He had a poor showing at the 2023 World Cup. I think he's going to come out ready to remake his name.
I mean, it is fascinating that there are some managers who can excel at the club level, and the international reality, as we're finding, for men and for women, is just a completely different beast that needs a completely different set of managerial realities. So Godspeed to Vlatko, because his current, and this is really magnificent. And for me, going into it, one of the stories of the season. They are going to begin the campaign in their truly sparkling new home, 11,500 seat CPKC Stadium. That rolls off the tongue. The first stadium in our nation's history, which is amazing, built specifically for a women's soccer club.
It's so cool. This is a massive step. Since so many clubs have to share facilities with other teams, or in the case of the Red Stars, play at a stadium that's not convenient to the city where their supporters live. Kansas City building their own women's soccer specific stadium is unprecedented. It's such a strong investment in this team and in this league. NWSL Commissioner Jessica Berman said that she didn't think there was, quote, a more important investment that is being made anywhere for the future of our game.
Yeah, you talk to players particularly in England. You talk to some of the Women's Super League players, and they talk about how they get the training ground, not just after the men's team, but also after the youth teams. They have to come in at the oddest hours of the day just to train. As players, Sam, how would they be looking at this? Like, is this exciting as a player? You're like, God, this moment, this is just a remarkable thing for all of us.
I think they must be. I think Kansas City's investment in that team has been incredible. They built the training facility, and I was actually there in 2022, and I got to work out of that training facility. It's beautiful. The idea that the ownership there is willing to put that much money behind an NWSL team, and now to build a stadium, which is way more expensive than building a training facility, it's incredible. I think the players must feel so validated that as a professional, they are deserving of this kind of attention and treatment and professionalism. I'm really excited for this move that we're seeing in Kansas City, and I hope that the team's performance matches the investment that they've gotten.
Yeah, I know there's been a furor about the parking prices around the stadium. A choice that went over about as well as Wendy's surge pricing. But I've got to believe, I've got to hope, I've got to dream. Big picture, this is a remarkable step for football in Kansas City, which is one of the most joyous hotbeds in our nation, and also for the league as a whole. I can't wait, honestly, to get to Kansas City, and not just for some burnt ends, but also to savor that new cauldron. God, I cannot wait to get there this season. Another place I do want to go. Another place I'm quite fascinated by the moves they're making. The Washington Spirit, and I'm not alone. Let's take another caller.
Huge fan of you, Sam, and of the podcast. This NWSL season, I am most excited to take my son Henry to his first ever professional sports game, an NWSL game. He was born during the World Cup, and now he'll be about 8 months old when he gets to go to his first Washington Spirit game. And I think it'll just be really cool that, you know, he can tell his friends someday that he saw Trinity Rodman and Sophia Smith and Casey Kruger and all the different players that he'll get to see from the Spirit and Gotham and the Thorns play when we go this season.
Well, depending on when Henry gets to his first match, he may see the club under their new manager, which has to be the biggest hiring decision in league history. The Spirit are bringing in Jonathan Heraldez from Barcelona Femení, and he'll join the club after Barca finished their season in June. I love this move. Michelle King.
Love it.
Yeah, Michelle King is pulling out all the stops to make this happen for her original NWSL team. This addition to the NWSL's coaching staff is a huge step in closing that coaching gap between the US and Europe. And honestly, I wouldn't be more surprised if we saw even more European players try to come here to play for Heraldez at the Spirit.
I love the direction you're taking this. Barcelona are coming off a Women's Champions League win. They play exquisite football. Just the tactical idea of their football is kinetic and bewildering, complex, nuanced, wonderful. It's exactly what we need our players over here to experience in the United States of America. Honestly, there's a good chance the trophy engravers will be etching Barcelona's names again on the Champions League trophy this year. When I say dominating, this is to do them a disservice, the extent to which they are obliterating all comers in the Liga Femenina. They're unbeaten in 18 games, 9 points ahead of Real Madrid. This is not a typo. They have a jaw-dropping plus 71 goal differential. They've scored 75. They've allowed just 4 goals all season. I do believe. Yeah, I mean, this is not just about this gentleman. It's obviously about the playing staff that Barcelona have brought through, the recruitment they've done. But at the heart of it is just an elite idea of football, created by an elite coach. And it's what United States football. We talked about it all World Cup, the tactical idea, the tactical gap. Lindsey Horan was among the players who talked about that tactical gap that the United States needs to catch up. And to empower the game's development in this nation over the next decade, I just applaud the Spirit for leading the way here. This, please God, will be transformative for all of us at every level.
Yeah, you know what I keep thinking about is Trinity Rodman, who plays for the Spirit. She's one of the young stars of the U.S. women's national team who is just so full of potential. She's about to be coached by 2 of the greatest coaches in the women's game, Heraldez for club at the Spirit and Emma Hayes for country with the U.S. women's national team. Imagine this kind of exposure, this opportunity for her to learn and grow. And for a player who's already so naturally talented, I think we're going to create a monster here.
A monster for the force of good.
Next up, Raj, we have Angel City.
Volemos!
This is a team at Angel City that showed its potential in the second half of last season when Becky Tweed took over as interim head coach. And they proceeded to reel off an 11-game unbeaten streak in all competitions, and a win in the last game of the season earned Angel City their first playoff appearance.
I've got to say, that string of results, there can be no better job interview than that. Becky Tweed quickly lost the interim label and was named head coach in November.
Yeah, this Angel City team has all of the tools at its disposal. Their stadium bumps for games. Their ownership group is like movie stars. They must just have money to blow. And even their social media team crushes 13 going on 30 promos.
It's amazing. By the way, if that genuinely, at the Oscars last weekend, I was like, how is the Angel City promo not up for Best Picture?
I feel like expansion teams usually take a few seasons to get their identity sorted out. But this team built something incredible last year, and we're all excited to see it continue growing. They have a great mix of veteran leadership like Allie Riley and Sydney Leroux. And then they have the young sister starlets, Alyssa and Giselle Thompson, who will probably pack the stands with their high school friends and be part of this team for years to come.
Oh, as we jump back across the country, let's go Carolina Courage. And I do contractually need to mention that you'll be at the Wakemed Soccer Park next weekend because this is genuinely amazing. You, Sam Mewis, of whom soon there will be an enormous statue on the Hanson, Massachusetts city limits, but you're also going to become the first ever inductee into the Courage's Ring of Honor. You won 2 NWSL championships and 3 NWSL shields with the Courage, details that I could never forget. Really because of my commemorative back tattoo that I had inked to mark that achievement.
Oh, well, maybe it matches mine. We'll have to compare. Yeah, the Ring of Honor, this is such a cool thing that the Courage is doing. I feel, not to overuse the word honored, but I feel really humbled and grateful for this opportunity. My time at the North Carolina Courage was so special. We won so much, but I also had such incredible friends there. I was really connected with the fans there, and to be recognized for my soccer career when I feel like it kind of slipped away from me before I would have liked for it to, it just feels really, really special. And I'm really, really excited to get to go back to the Triangle area and celebrate with some of my former teammates and with my family and with the fans. So I'm really looking forward to it. It's going to be fun.
God, I actually went to watch the 2019 NWSL final and was just blown away by the community around that team and the wonder. I'll be honest, I went to watch Sam Kerr. We just filmed with Sam Kerr ahead of the final in Chicago, and I went to watch her smite in what felt like it was going to be her last game. And we went down there. We ate all the Beasley's fried chicken. And you just like genuinely would not let anybody else touch the ball. It was incredible to watch you just absolutely obliterate all comers with wonder, and to think about you going down and being inducted into that burning Ring of Honor is a beautiful, beautiful thing. Enjoy, North Carolina Courage fans. Enjoy Sam Mewis. I know I have a sense of how deeply meaningful it is for you, but also for the club. Coach Sean Nahas called you the foundation of this club. That's a quote. And said, Sam Mewis helped to bring so many great memories into our history. I saw them. That is very true. And it's not an overstatement, and it's beautiful. It's an incredible achievement. I've got a huge respect to the Courage for acting, stepping in this moment, and making, sealing this memory, creating an ending, creating a sense of closure and finale, and just baking you into the history of the club. It is classy. It is magic. It is deserved. I've got a lot of respect for everyone down there for pulling it off. And it now means that 1/25th of the Men in Blazers Media Network are forever part of the Ring of Honor.
Thank you, Raj. It does mean a lot to me. And I am forever a North Carolina Courage fan. So I'm thrilled that they're going to benefit, I think, from bringing in Ashley Sanchez from the Washington Spirit. She's versatile. She adds vision to the midfield. But the team is going to miss the impact of Brazilian playmaker Caroline, who was both the NWSL MVP last season and the runner-up for the Golden Boot. Caroline is still recovering after tearing her ACL in the final game of last season. So let's talk a little bit about North Carolina's opening week opponent, the Houston Dash.
Yeah, the only team in the league whose name is both a verb and a punctuation mark. Bravo.
Houston are coming off a tough season. They finished 10th in the league, but they were also tied with Kansas City for the fewest number of wins. They did get a big offseason win when forward Maria Sanchez, who is also the captain of Mexico's national team, signed a new contract, a deal that made her the highest paid player in the league.
I just want to add how much I admire Houston forward Michelle Alozie, who is a rising star for both a club and a country, Nigeria. She made a World Cup debut for the Nigerians. She's also juggling, and this is I'm going to say these words, but it doesn't capture the enormity of how she lives her life, because she's juggling a second career in medicine, putting a Yale microbiology degree to work simultaneously as a cancer researcher at Texas Children's Hospital. She's just a force of wonder, a force of good. But when I think about it, to be able to excel at one thing is incredible, and she does. but to excel at two of them, and one of them is cancer research, is honestly, as someone that can do nothing of any merit, is mind-boggling. Huge respect, huge love. And Sam, I know you just filmed with Michelle. That episode drops imminently, and I've got to tell you, I cannot wait for her to tell her story.
I know. I can't wait for that interview to come out either. I had never talked to her in person before the interview, and it was so much fun to hang out with her. I think everybody's going to really love hearing from Michelle Alozia. But we do have another caller right now who wants to talk racing Louisville.
Hi, Sam. This is Barbara from New York City. I am just calling about the upcoming NWSL season. I'm really excited to see what Racing Louisville does under Bev Yanez. I'm really excited with all of the signs from the off season. We have Taylor Flint, a lot of cool international signs, as well as the 18-year-old Millie from New Zealand. So really excited to see how she slots all these new players into the already great team culture, and really excited to see them coming hopefully to the playoffs this year. I grew up there, so really hoping the hometown team shows out this season. Go Big Perp.
Barbara, thank you so much for calling. I know I am really excited about Bev Yanez's role for this Louisville team as well. Something that I'm noticing this year is that it feels like there's this new generation of female coaches. Bev Yanez was appointed as Racing Louisville's head coach in November, and it was just recently announced that Canadian Carmelina Moscato will be joining her there. Amy Rodriguez, U.S. Women's National Team legend, is coaching in Utah. And Casey Stoney is a recent former player as well who's coaching at San Diego. I think that it's so incredible for the players to have women in roles, in coaching roles on their teams, because these women understand what the players are going through. For a long time in the league, there was only one female coach or maybe even no female coaches. It was a lot of white men coaching, and it felt at times like they didn't understand what it was like to be a professional athlete or to be a woman in this field. So I'm really thrilled that the league is making these kinds of moves towards these coaching roles going to former players who are women, who are totally equipped to be doing this job because they've done this job as a player.
Yeah, I mean, it's so amazing. We had Emma Hayes on the show. Her career was cut short far too quickly. But at the time when she came on, she was being linked to a lot of men's jobs. And we asked her about that. And she said, it's a completely different game. And to understand those differences is to appreciate them. And, even medically, this spate of ACLs, which is devastating the league, to have a true understanding of that is really what this game needs to go to the next level. And I cannot wait to watch all of it. There is one team I do want to talk about before we move on, and to talk about them by expressing my profound and deeply genuine admiration for Orlando Pride captain Marta. She's an incredible. She's sometimes seems less a human, more a life force for the power of good. She's entering a final year of her contract. Possibly, I don't like to say this. I keep my fingers. It's not true. It could be her last season of professional football. She retired from international competition for Brazil after last year's World Cup. She's been such an icon, such an inspiration, such a considered inspiration in not just how she plays, how she carries herself, how she trains, but how she speaks about the game, her role, how she wants to be followed. Very conscious in this moment of a transition of leadership, and hearing her emotionally articulate, yes, in her native Brazil, but also around the world, this 6-time FIFA World Cup Player of the Year. That's only been bettered by some little guy named Leo. By the way, in the state of Florida, they've got all those World Player of the Year awards, the two of them together, also mind-boggling. But Marta is so good, so transcendent. that even FIFA, who, not always good at the decision making, finally did a good one. They gave her the Puskas treatment. They named a trophy after Marta. Whoever scores the best goal in women's football every year from henceforth will pick up the Marta Award, which I love. Savor every single moment we have watching this legend play in our league, America, this season. And particularly to you Orlando fans, Godspeed. Word of admiration for your phone line. I'm loving these voicemails.
I know the callers know what they want, so let's hear from one more.
My name's Drew Romeyer. I'm calling from New York City, and my question is, who do you guys think is going to be the Golden Boot winner of the league, and who's your MVP?
Thank you so much for that call, Drew. Raj, who's your pick for the Shield?
Do you want me to crystal ball it, Sam Mewis?
I do.
Well, spoiler alert, if you don't want to know who wins this league, stop listening now or just fast forward to the very end, because I am about to tell you. It's not a very original thought, but there's just so much talent on that team. I've got to go Gotham. I mean, all of those friends of Sam Mewis arriving en masse like a battalion. Rose Lavelle. I mean, Sonnet is an incredible footballer. She's become there's another level of Sonnet over the last 12 months. Crystal Dunn, we all understand what she is. We all understand the ferocity with which she wants to constantly prove herself to herself. Tina Davidson, I think, is, like, of all of those pickups, possibly one of the most sage and underappreciated. I mean, watching her for the US women in the W Gold Cup, she was a force of nature. I think is going to thrive in New York City. Adding to a roster, we talked about it already. It's got our mate Lynn Williams. It's got Midge Purse. I do expect Gotham to be the single most consistent force. So much depth there over the course of the season. And to add the NWSL Championship that they won in 2023 with a Supporters Shield win in 2024.
Well, I have to agree with you there, Raj. For the Shield, I'm picking Gotham. I won't go back over everything you just said, but pretty much all my friends are there and all the talent is there. And if they don't win, I think we're all going to be devastated and surprised. But I actually think this is the last time that we're going to agree today. Who do you have winning the championship?
Oh, who is going to win it all? In my heart and my head, they are both aligned, which is not a normal state of being for me. I've got to be candid. But oh, hello, Portland. Your Thorns, they're always there or thereabouts. They won the championship in 2022. They are stacked with talent. Sophia Smith. I adore watching Olivia Moultrie. I also adore her narrative, her story. I love her development. Sam Coffey, Janine Becky. Back in the fight, she's one of the most noble and nourishing human beings I've encountered in the game. To watch her come back after missing the last campaign with an ACL tear. Jessie Fleming is a clenched fist, a warrior, a poet warrior added in the offseason. I have to mention, of course, Becky Sauerbrunn, just the Ruth Bader Ginsburg of football. The Thorns have it all, playoff experience, and they know how to grind it out when it matters most.
Becky Sauerbrunn is our girl. I love all those players that you mentioned.
Are you going against Becky Sauerbrunn? Are you about to go against Becky Sauerbrunn?
The North Carolina courage in me can't ever say anything good about Portland. I just can't do it. I know they're a great team. I do not have them winning the championship, however. I have the
That's where I thought you were going. I was like, wow, Sam.
I have the San Diego Wave winning the championship. I think that Alex Morgan, Naomi Girma, Abby Dahlkemper, but they also are signing young players. They won the Shield last year. I think that if they have time to build up momentum, to work in some of their new players, San Diego looked really good last year. Casey Stoney's an incredible coach. I think they're going to build as the season goes on. And I think they're going to make a run at the championship.
I love Casey Stoney. I've got to be candid. Naomi Girma, I've already talked about my love of her and my admiration for her play. I think the Alex Morgan narrative is genuinely fascinating. Alex is, late era Alex is rarely more prolific than when she's been written off. And yes, in the Gold Cup, we all have witnessed her leadership, the way she's playing in a deeper role. But we also need to remember she was not a first string selection for this squad. I imagine that pissed her off something wicked. And what she does with that fury, I think, is going to be definitive for that team.
Does she make your golden boot then?
My head is my head is telling me, and I can't wait to watch Bay FC's Assisat Oshuala. I think she's going to set the league alight. I hope she sets a league alight this year, joining from Barcelona in the off-season. But my heart, again, is going full on hashtag Team Sauerbrunn. And despite there being a bit of an empty void where my heart should be, I'm going to go on one and say Becky Sauerbrunn for Golden Boot. And when it happens, America, just remember where you heard it first.
Well, I love that vote, Raj, because we're keeping it in the family here at the women's game. That will be incredible. No one will be happier than me. But I have to give it to Sophia Smith. I think Sophia Smith's ability to score goals, especially for Portland, is so, so good. I know that with the Olympics this year, she might get out of rhythm with her club team a little bit, having to travel with the national team. But she's shown year after year that she's putting goals away for Portland. So I'm giving Golden Boot to Sophia Smith.
God, MVP time. I'm actually not going to go Becky Sauerbrunn for MVP because, I can't be greedy and give it all. She's got a title. She's got the Golden Boot. Do you have your MVP in mind?
I do, and I'm keeping it in the family here at the women's game. I'm going Lynn Williams. I played more soccer with Lynn Williams than probably anybody else. I've seen her turn it on before, and I just feel like we're going to see it again. When Lynn is in scoring form, she's unstoppable. She's one of the fastest players on the team. She can set herself up. She can just win the ball off a defender and set herself up to score. But I'm also thinking about her on this Gotham team and how much she's going to get set up by her teammates. Has some of the best players in the world who are going to be giving her assists, giving her crosses, setting her up. Lynn actually won the NWSL MVP before in 2016. And I just have a feeling that she has another MVP season in her. And what kind of a friend even are you if you don't believe in your people? Lynn's MVP for me.
I love that. Believe in your people. Tell you who I believe in for MVP. And this is slightly me going off on one, but I believe this one actually, is almost as real as the Becky Sauerbrunn Golden Boot. I would love to see a Jaden Shaw MVP season. That 19, yes, she's 19. I've rarely seen a footballer with that level of composure. She just seems to get better and better with every single start. For the US women's national team, she's not even surprised when she scores. She's got that rare ability for an attacker to make it look as if she has the intelligence, the positional empathy to make it look as if the ball comes to them. I once asked Harry Kane, how do you make it look like wherever you are in the box, you can make the ball come to you? And he just nodded and he goes, I don't know really. I think Jaden Shaw does know. I think she's going to do the business. I think she's going to do the business on the club stage, just as she has done at the international level. I cannot wait to watch her with just this preternatural calmness, just thrive and soar.
Well, unlike Jaden Shaw, Raj, I was always surprised when I scored. I could never believe that it actually really went in. But I think that covers it, Raj. This was our NWSL preview pod.
Oh, but we've not hit the big question. You're not really giving me the feedback on what you think about that greatest show women thing.
Well, I'm going to have to get back to you on that. Thank you so much for being here and doing this with me, Raj. And thank you all so much for listening to our first ever NWSL preview podcast. The NWSL kicks off this weekend. You can watch the Challenge Cup between Gotham FC and the San Diego Wave live from Red Bull Arena on Friday, March 15th at 8 p.m. on Prime Video. And then catch all the action for the rest of the league on Saturday and Sunday. Follow along with us across our social channels, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok at Women's Game MIB. Subscribe to our YouTube channel at Women's Game MIB and subscribe to our newsletter delivered to your inbox every Monday. We will be back with our regularly scheduled pod tomorrow on this podcast feed that you can subscribe to now. That interview is with Megan Rapinoe. We'll see you there.